My life fell apart when I was 16. Papa died. He had such a strong heart, yet he died. Was it the heat and smoke from his blacksmithing shop? It's true that nothing could take him from his work, his art. He loved to make the metal bend and obey him. But his work only seemed to strengthen him. He was so happy in his shop. So what was it that killed him? To this day, I can't be sure. I hope it had nothing to do with me or what I did back then. Immediately after he died, my mother came running out of their bedroom, sobbing and throwing herself against the wall. I knew then that I would be different. I knew in that moment I would never again be able to fully control the fire inside me. I became a different creature that day, not so human. Everything that happened later I now understand started then. The ceremony was held on the outskirts of town, before the sand dunes. It was the middle of the day and terribly hot. His body lay on thick white cloth, surrounded by a garland of braided palm fronds. I knelt there in the sand before his body, saying my last goodbye. I'll never forget his face. It didn't look like Papa's anymore. Papa's skin was dark brown, his lips were full. This face had sunken cheeks, deflated lips, and skin like gray-brown paper. Papa's spirit had gone elsewhere. The back of my neck prickled. My white veil was a poor protection from my people's ignorant and fearful eyes. By this time, everyone was always watching me. I clenched my jaw. Around me, women were on their knees weeping and wailing. Papa was dearly loved, despite the fact that he'd married my mother, a woman with a daughter like me, an Eru daughter. That had long been excused as one of those mistakes even the greatest man can make. Over the wailing, I heard my mother's soft whimper. She had suffered the greatest loss. It was her turn to have her last moment. Afterwards, they'd take him for cremation. I looked down at his face one last time. I'll never see you again, I thought. Oh, I wasn't ready. I blinked and touched my chest. That's when it happened, when I touched my chest. At first, it felt like an itchy tingle. It quickly swelled to something more. The more I tried to get up, the more intense it got, and the more my grief expanded. They can't take him, I thought frantically. There's still so much metal left in his shop. He hasn't finished his work. The sensation spread through my chest and radiated out of the rest of my body. I rounded my shoulders to hold it in. Then I started pulling it from the people around me. I shuddered and gnashed my teeth. I was filling with rage. Oh, not here, I thought. Not at Papa's ceremony. Life wouldn't leave me alone long enough to even mourn my dead father. Behind me, the wailing stopped. All I heard was the gentle breeze. It was utterly eerie. Something was beneath me, in the ground, or maybe somewhere else. Suddenly, I was slammed with the pain of the emotions of everyone around me. For Papa, on instinct, I laid my hands on his arm. People started screaming. I didn't turn around. I was too focused on what I had to do. Nobody tried to pull me away. No one touched me. My friend Luyu's uncle was once struck by lightning during a rare dry season Ungwa storm. He survived, but he couldn't stop talking about how it felt like being violently shaken from the inside out. That's how I felt now. I gasped with horror. I couldn't take my hand from my Papa's arm. It was fused to him. My sand-colored skin tapered to his gray-brown skin. From my palm, a mound of mingled flesh. I started screaming. It caught in my throat and I coughed, and then I stared. Papa's chest was slowly moving up and down, up and down. I was both repulsed and desperately hopeful. I took a deep breath and cried, "Live, Papa, live!" A pair of hands settled on my wrists. I knew exactly whose they were. One of his fingers was broken and bandaged, and if he didn't get his hands off me, I'd hurt him far worse than I had 5 days prior. "Onye songu," R.R. said into my ear, quickly taking his hands from my wrists. Oh, how I hated him. But I listened. He's gone. Let go so we can all be free of it. Somehow I did. I let go of Papa. Everything went silent again, as if the world for a moment were submerged in water. Then the power that had built up inside me burst. My veil was blown off of my head, and my freed braids whipped back. Everyone and everything was thrown back. Aro, my mother, family, friends, acquaintances, strangers, a table of food, the 50 yams, the 13 large monkey bread fruits, the 5 cows, the 10 goats, the 30 hens, and so much sand. Back in town, the power went off for 30 seconds. Houses would need to be swept of sand, and computers would be taken in for dust damage. That underwater-like silence again. I looked down at my hand. When I tried to remove it from Papa's cold, still dead arm, there was a sound of peeling, like weak glue flaking off. My hand left a silhouette of dried mucus on Papa's arm. I rubbed my fingers together. More of the stuff crackled and peeled from between them. I took one more look at Papa. Then I fell over to the side and passed out. That was 4 years ago. Now see me. People here know that I caused it all. They want to see my blood, they want to see me suffer, and then they want to kill me. Whatever happens after this, let me stop. Tonight you want to know how I came to be what I am. You want to know how I got here. It's a long story, but I'll tell you. You're a fool if you believe what others say about me. I tell you my story to avert all those lies. Thankfully, even my long story will fit on that laptop of yours. I have 2 days, and I hope it's enough. It will all catch up with me soon. My mother named me Onyesomu. It means who fears death. She named me well. I was born 20 years ago, during troubled times. Ironically, I grew up far from the killing. So that's the beginning of the story.